Sorry? What does that mean?
Sloan was a jerk. He didn't even know Joshua was a convict until I came by to check on him. Once Sloan knew, he wanted to evict him, but Joshua paid his rent, so he couldn't. Sloan didn't like the fact that Joshua knew his rights and wouldn't be pushed around.
Could anybody else in the building have done this?
Maybe. I mean, everybody knew that Sloan had a ton of cash on rent day.
Really? Yeah. So why did the police only focus on Morton?
You know why? He had a record. I always warned my guys, if anything bad ever happens, they'll always be blamed.
His parole officer wants to testify, but he can only give us a soft alibi. I wasn't actually with Morton at the time of the murder.
We couldn't call a parole officer anyway, not without telling the jury about Morton's prior criminal history.
What about defense witnesses? Do we have anyone we can call?
I tried calling his daughter, but she won't talk to us, so she's out.
Still, the DA doesn't have a great case. I mean, they don't even have a murder weapon. They really only got one witness.
An eyewitness. I've convicted plenty of guys with one eyewitness. But eyewitnesses can be wrong, so I will take charge and look into this one. The DA has a witness, Alden Beck, a gas meter reader. He identifies our client as the killer. At trial, we need to show that Beck ID'd the wrong man. Now, when I was a DA, they didn't have lineups with all the suspects. They had show-ups. A show-up means that the police arrested Morton at TNT&G and took him back to the scene of the crime so the eyewitness, Alden Beck, could see Morton in handcuffs. This makes Morton look like the killer. When the police asked Beck to ID the killer from photos, the picture Beck has in his mind is of Joshua Morton. It's legal, but it leads to false identifications and gets men accused and convicted of crimes they did not commit. This trial is going to come down to this witness. Let's see if we can prove that the police caused him to identify the wrong man. Go.
Where exactly did Alden Beck, the eyewitness, say he was when he saw the murder?
Here. Beck said he was going to read the gas meter at the back of the building. He does it at the same day and time every month. He said he watched through the window as Morton killed Sloan.
All right, well, let's check it out.
What can you see?
Everything.
Lawyers often go back and talk to jurors in their old cases to learn how they can improve. Mr. Graves prosecuted Mr. Morton. Now he's defending him.
Anything that you can do to help us would be great.
So, why did you vote to convict Joshua Morton of killing his wife? Can you tell us?
The evidence. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was enough. Mr. Graves proved his case. He was great in trial.
What about the defense lawyer? Did you have an opinion of him?
He was just okay.
He stunk. The guy was terrible. I didn't believe a word he said.
I can't believe this. I spent 2 weeks trying the case, staring at them, trying to read their minds. Don't even recognize them.
They remember you. Did you hear what they said? They thought you were great, that you tried a great case.
Or I was just better than Morton's lawyer. The jury hated him, which means Joshua had no defense.
Was there any evidence that you wished you'd heard, or anything you wish the lawyers had done or not done?
Well, I wish Morton had gotten on the stand and told us what happened.
Well, in the trial transcript, I saw that his lawyer argued that Morton left the house that night to get his daughter medicine. His lawyer said that Morton wasn't at home when his wife was killed.
Morton should have told us himself. If he didn't do it, why not say so?
The judge instructed them Morton had a right not to testify. By law, they weren't supposed to hold that against him.
But they did. It happens. It's the risk you take when you don't put the defendant on the stand.
They swore they would put it out of their minds, but in their hearts, an innocent man would testify. A guilty man wouldn't.
He can't testify this time. If he does, his prior conviction could come out.
He wants to testify this time. Let's just make sure he doesn't have to.
Hey.
Hey, you do me a favor?
Anything.
You take a look at this, my old DA case file for Morton's first murder trial. Check it for procedural errors, anything you can use to get the prior conviction excluded.
Look, you're a great lawyer. If there was a problem, you would have found it.
I just want to make sure. Good trial lawyers, they never handle their own appeals. They got fresh eyes to look at things for them. See if they missed anything. Forget what part is this. Treat it like any other file.
We're doing Joshua's case for free?
Sure. It's an investment in Luther and a good one. He's already showing signs of growth. Did you hear him admit DA eyewitnesses can be wrong?
Yeah, so?
So, up until now, the man wasn't prepared to do everything defense lawyers have to do. Yes, he does great work, but he's not comfortable here. He won't schmooze clients or do press. He still thinks he can go back to the DA's office one day.
Yeah, if that's what he wants. I mean, maybe he will, maybe he should.
He won't be able to after this. He's already starting to question Morton's first conviction because he's now thinking like a defense lawyer. You can never go home again. You know why? Because they never forgive you for leaving.
Here are our jury instructions. And as the prosecutor in this case, I'm giving you official notice that we're moving to introduce evidence of Morton's first murder conviction in our case in chief.
I figured you would.
You seem upset, Luther. Your partner's making you do this case?
You've known me a long time. You know, nobody makes me do anything. Are you always sure that they're guilty?
They are always guilty.
If you talked to Morton, you wouldn't be so sure that he did it.
I never talked to any of them. You didn't either when you were in this job. There's no point. They all say the same thing. They're innocent.
They're not all innocent, and they're not all guilty either. You know, I envy you, J.D. I used to see the world in black and white, but the truth, it's more complicated.
Let me do you a favor, get you kicked off the case. I'll argue you can't defend Morton now because you prosecuted him before. I'll cite the revolving door statute.
That's a federal statute. It doesn't apply.
Then I'll get you knocked out because you could be a witness for us to testify about the first murder trial.
That other case isn't coming in. Even if it was, you could call someone else. You don't need me. I've never dropped out of a case in my life, J.D. I won't start now.
Too bad. It's Morton's funeral. Those are death papers. When we get the conviction, we're asking for the death penalty.
I need to tell you, the DA is seeking the death penalty.
Okay. Have you called my daughter? Has she talked to you, any of you?
Joshua, please. Focus. They want to execute you.
I heard. If they convict me again for something I didn't do, I want them to put me to death.
God, I get upset because I miss one parent-teacher conference. This man, he's missed them all, and everything else.
Luther, don't do this to yourself.
The first jury, they wanted to hear him testify. They held it against him that he didn't. Had they heard him talk the way we did just now, I think they might have acquitted him.
But you can't go back.
Tom, I convinced the jury that this man killed his wife beyond a reasonable doubt. Now I have doubt. Alden, you've been ducking me.
No, I just wanted to be sure before I spoke to you.
Did you find something in the file in Morton's first murder conviction?
I didn't find anything wrong. Procedurally.
But?
I think Morton's defense lawyer missed something. Something big. This is where the murder happened. They tore down Joshua's house 5 years ago.
I didn't come here. Should have.
DAs almost never go to crime scenes. You rely on the police. They're the ones who built the timeline, right? The one that you introduced at trial to disprove Morton's alibi?
Yes.
We just drove 2 routes. One took a half hour, the other took 10 minutes. At trial, Morton's lawyer argued Morton took the longer trip.
Which was irrelevant. My point was that he could have just as easily taken the shorter route, given him plenty of time to commit the murder. What's the problem?
The shorter route that you based your timeline on, it wasn't open.
Yes, it was. It was a Thomas guide map. I introduced it at trial.
The problem with these maps is they aren't always accurate. LA street closures, construction, fires, mudslides. Lots of times with car crash cases, I go and investigate, and the street will be temporarily closed. Or gone, even.
What is this?
A Caltrans map for the time of the murder. They were doing construction that night on the shorter route.
He couldn't have gotten home in time to kill his wife.